Hey, welcome YouTube-verse. This is Richard, baking Sin City here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Wanted to talk a little bit in this beautiful weather about Uber and Lyft car leases. Heat wave going across this country back east. They're having 95 and 98 and even 100 degrees. Well, here in Las Vegas, it's 108 degrees, which is kind of warm. Tomorrow it actually starts getting hot. We're going to have an official heat warning because we'll be 112 degrees. And 3 continuous days of temperatures over 110. Yahoo! So while you guys are sweating back east 95 degrees, just remember, we're probably about 15 degrees warmer than you. Anyway, I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit because on some of my chat groups we've been having some comments about leases, car leases for people who ride with Lyft and Uber, rideshare programs. And in general, they are bad ideas. Now, they're cheaper than just buying. And the reason is that when you purchase a car, you're purchasing the car. Let's say you buy a car that's $20,000 for round numbers. You go ahead and you buy it, then you're down and your financing together equals $20,000. So you're paying interest on the $20,000. Now on a lease though, it's a little bit of a different animal. You are not buying the car, you're buying the use of a vehicle for whatever year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. So you're basically buying the amount of the value of the vehicle between the time that you purchase it and the time you give it back. As an example, let's take that $20,000 car we talked about. It's a $20,000 car. Let's say, for, again, round figure's sake, in 2 years after driving it around, that car is going to be worth, say, about $12,000. So between $20,000 and $20,000, that's $8,000. And so in the end, instead of financing $20,000, you're only financing $8,000 plus whatever the profit and the interest and stuff is in there. Which is why car leases are cheap. You're not buying the car, you're simply buying the reduction of the value of the car between the time you purchase it and the time you give it away. Great! Why doesn't everybody do that? Well, the leases are written in a couple of different forms. The most common one, and what they call retail leases, are what most people have the specifics for, is they have a lot of limitations because they are figuring that you're just doing it for everyday sort of driving, going to work or whatever. And they usually have restrictions that you are not actually using the car for work. Specifically, most leases now are saying you're not doing it in rideshare because the miles are so much, and the wear and tear, and the maintenance costs are so much higher, so the value of the car is not going to be as good when it's time to come in. And the second thing is that most of the leases are designed to give you a budget for the number of miles that you can use. You go ahead and have typically 10 to 12,000 miles a year allowance on your typical car lease. Now the problem is if you're doing rideshare, you're putting in a lot of miles onto your car. And I've seen very typically people put on 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 miles a year. I've even seen a couple of people put in 100,000 miles in 1 year. And the penalties that you get over your 10,000 or 12,000 range is immense. You might end up paying more for the penalties than what it is for the lease. And so for the most part, getting a lease, whether on a new car or on a used car, in order to allow yourself to drive on a rideshare program like Uber or Lyft is generally a very bad idea. The initial numbers sound great, but a lot of times if they find out that you are driving Lyft or Uber, that invalidates the lease, and you basically get repoed because of violation of the contract, or more often, you have to pay large penalties for using it in a way it's not supposed to be used to, or because you're running up so much mileage, you have to pay lots and lots, thousands and thousands of dollars extra for those extra miles that you put on. So for the most part, regular retail leases are not a good idea. Now, there are some leases that are better. There are commercial leases. I'll talk about that in the next one. Have a good one. Drive safe out there, guys. Bye-bye.